That's 92, I think, to 94.
Likodage 92, Jembe 94.
Director of Finance and Administration to the newly created National Intelligence Agency.
Ci 94 nak ci lañ ma doli yobuat ci buntu bi nga xamne moy seytu wali kobar gi ci buntu liggéey kay bi ñu sos es moy National Intelligence Agency NIA.
There I traveled.
1997.
Mr. Sambou,
yes.
As Director of Administration and Finance at the NIA, you are de facto number 2 at the NIA at the time, Director General.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, Mr. Sambou, perhaps you should allow the interpreters to speak before you respond to my questions. So,
Thank you, sir.
1994 to 1997, correct?
1994 to 1997, ludut kinga hamne moy Director General bi yow mi yow la fa sa mahama gëno na ko wé.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, proceed please and continue about the description of the positions you held.
United Kingdom.
Ci la dem United Kingdom.
You pursue another master's degree course.
Ci xentu nak lu jëm ci wali njangam mahama master's degree.
In 1998, I came back home.
Ci atum 1998 ma ñibsi wat.
And was transferred and designated to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Ci lañ ma daldi toxal nak ci ministry bi nga xamne mo seytu wali doxalini bi rewi Gambia ci biti.
And I was posted to the Gambia High Commission in Lagos as Deputy Head of Mission.
Ci lañ ma yobbu nak ci Gambia High.
In 2000, I was recalled.
Gannaaw ñaari at ci atum 2000.
And I came back home.
Ci lañ ma o ma ñibsi wat.
And I was posted to the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare.
Lañ ma yobbu nak ci ministry bi seytu wali wér garam ngek nekk ni nit ñi.
As Deputy Permanent Secretary.
Ma nekk fa nak di maqamam Deputy Permanent Secretary.
In 2002,
ci atum 2002,
I was terminated.
Ñu daldi ma dàq.
Up to 2004.
Ma toog fa nak be atum 2004.
And I got a job at the Independent Electoral Commission as Director of Operations.
Ma am liggéey ci buntu liggéeykaay bi saytu mbiri wote ak kontem carte yi réew mi di Independent Electoral Commission. Ma nekk borom kër gi saytu wàlli doxalini bi liggéey boobu Director of Operations.
In March 2006,
ci weeri March atum 2006,
I was again absorbed into the system.
Ci lañ ma daldi delloowaat ci liggéey ba.
And appointed Acting Director General of the National Intelligence Agency.
Ñu fal ma nag di kilifa gi nga xam ne nii moo topp ki jiite ci buntu liggéeykaay National Intelligence Agency.
8 months, I think, into that job.
Juróom-ñetti weer ci liggéey boobu.
I was again terminated.
Ñu daldi ma dàqaat.
Without reason.
Te waxuñ ma dal lan moo tax.
And I went home.
Ma dolli ñibbi.
Till recalled.
Ñu daldi ma woowaat.
Offered a contract.
Ñu jox ma contract liggéey.
And appointed Permanent Secretary number 1 at the Office of the President.
Ñu def ma Permanent Secretary number 1 ci office yi President bi.
That's a very high position, you would admit.
Lolu mahama bu for la de.
I would admit now, I didn't know what it was when I was going.
Danaa nangu nag ndax jamono bi ma doon dem xaw ma woon dan la woon.
Even then, it would have been the highest Permanent Secretary position, not next to the Secretary General.
Ca jamono booba sax mooy woon mahama bi gën a fort ci mahama Permanent Secretary ndax yaa toppoon ci Secretary General.
Toppa ci Secretary General. So the point I'm trying to make is, being Permanent Secretary number 1 for Office of the President, that would make you one of the most senior Permanent Secretary next to the Secretary General. Would you agree?
Lima wax moy su fekkee ne def nañ la Permanent Secretary number 1 bon yow yaa gën a kowe ci mahama Permanent Secretary tegu rek ci kaw ki nga xam ne mooy Secretary General bi.
That was next to the Secretary.
In person, but when you separate them, perhaps yes.
Léegi li ci ëpp nag Secretary General Secretary Cabinet yi benn la daan doon waaye comme xaajale nga ko bi tey noonu la.
Okay. So, please, what happened after that?
Egalil lu xew gannaaw loolu.
In October of the same year, 2009,
ci weeri October ci benn at mi 2009,
I was posted to the Ministry of Defense as permanent secretary. After a second stint as on contract as permanent secretary, halfway into the second contract, I was dismissed.
Again.
Halfway into the 2-year contract of the second contract, I got dismissed.
Yet
on
again.
Contract.
Yes. Forced dismissal on contract, but not forced dismissal from your engagement or employment with Gambia government. That would have been your third dismissal from Gambia government.
Lead counsel, if you would allow me to explain.
Lead counsel,
a dismissal and termination are different.
Dismissal and termination,
it has general parlance. Your contract, your engagement with government was ended.
Removal.
You were removed for the third time.
For the third time.
And that's the point I was trying to make.
Lead counsel is very right.
Lead counsel.
And what happened after that?
Surreptitiously.
Okay.
And sought political asylum in Senegal for fear of my life.
As far as you know, was there any credible threat to your life? Which warranted your surreptitious disappearance from this country? Into exile in Senegal.
Lead counsel.
Lead counsel.
My position was
minister.
Minister of,
as permanent secretary for which ministry?
Ministry of Defense.
For Ministry of Defense.
Ministry of Defense.
Minister of Defense was...
There was, of course, a de facto minister at the time. Somebody who oversaw the Ministry of Defense, correct?
Benen ministre bo xamne koku mo dan setlu mo dan tek loxo ci ministre bi defense bobu.
The de facto Minister of Defense was the President of the Republic.
Minister bobu non nga xamne na mo don baye xel nak lu jëm ci mbiri karange mo don President bu Republic bu Gambia.
So, in essence, as permanent secretary, Ministry of Defense, you were dealing directly with Yaya Jammeh.
Bon mun nañu wax ne comme ka ya nekkon permanent secretary ci ron liggéey ka ministre bi seytu karange réew mi bon dafa melni yow dal ci ron Yaya Jammeh nga don liggéey.
Through the Secretary General.
Deug la jaarale ko nak ci ron Secretary General.
Okay. And your services were terminated.
Dismissed.
Yes, word. You were removed, to use your word. You were removed. So, in all that, tell us why you perceived a threat to your safety and security.
Working with Yaya Jammeh was...
Yaya
Jammeh read through every single line you wrote in the file.
Yaya Jammeh dafay baye xel lepp lo xamne ni dal dinañ ko bind ci file.
Full stop, comma, semicolon.
Full stop, comma ak yenen.
I believe he thought he...
Yenen ni na amu ci olof.
Semicolon.
Continue, please.
I believe he thought he knew better than anybody else.
Yakarna mom dafa foy na mo gëna xam
in the English language.
ci làkki angale.
Even with the help of my desktop spell checks,
ak même si suma ni may seete ni ñuy bindee si furi ci suma computer bi.
2 giant dictionaries, robots and advanced learners,
ak kayiti dictionary bi nga xam ne fa la ñuy seetee baati angale yi.
complemented with a book of quotes,
ak yenn yi nga xam ne ni ñu ngi ànd ak ay léewu.
didn't satisfy him.
loolu yëpp du ko daan doy.
Yaya Jammeh also did not appreciate people taking initiatives in his place.
moom it du daan nekk koo xam ne dana daan doyloo nit ñi ñuy doxal ay xalaat ci wàllam.
He took offense at those things.
dafay jàppee loolu tooñ.
And he personalized issues.
te daf dee moomale boppam yenn mbir yi.
Rather than concentrate on the details in the file,
ni bàyyi xel nag li nga xam ne loolu la ñu bind si file yi muy pour lu muy jëflanteet.
he would reply on the folio sheets personal insults and very, very, very degrading language.
dana tontu nag ci anam goo xam ne ni anam gu xastu la ci li nga xam ne ni mooy file boobu noonu su koy delloo.
It would take a very patient and tolerant and mature, sober person to focus on the job and forget about those things so as to push the file and get the job done.
nga nekk ni koo xam ne ni ku mot nga koo xam ne ni tamit ku mën a muñ nga pour nga mën a continuer ak liggéey boobu.
For us to better understand the personality of Yaya Jammeh, I mean, you have worked with him extensively. You've worked in his government in the highest offices, NIA, Defense. You've been boss of NIA. That brings you into very close contact with him. You are head of Permanent Secretary Defense. Very close contact with him. You are also Permanent Secretary Ministry of Health and others. So you've worked with him extensively. Help us understand Yaya Jammeh. Let's decode him. Make us understand his personality.
Legi, pour ñu mëna xam Yaya Jammeh ban façon ngeen nit la xam nañ ne liggéey nga ci ronam ci anam yu ci bari liggéey nga NIA Permanent Secretary Defense nekkoon na sa boss nekk nga ko xam ne tamit jokkoo nga moom torop liggéey nga ci liggéeykaay bi saytu wérgu yaram bi nekk fa Permanent Secretary am na place ma xama yu for yoo xam ne am nga ko ci ron Yaya Jammeh léegi soo ñu bëggee wax kan mooy Yaya Jammeh ak naka la mel naka la.
Lead counsel, I watched Dr. Sen.
Lead counsel seetaan naa Dr. Sen muy wax lu jëm ci mbiri Yaya Jammeh ci ni nga xam ne noonu la ko jàngee ci mbiri xel.
And his analysis of Yaya Jammeh.
ak li nga xam ne ni loolu la sottandeku ci Yaya Jammeh.
He had many points correct.
am na fa fànn yu bëri yoo xam ne ni dëgg la fa am.
But unfortunately, he did not have personal contact.
waaye nag nekkul koo xam ne ni
did not work with Yaya Jammeh.
daan am jokkoo ak Yaya Jammeh liggéeyut ak Yaya Jammeh.
That is why we putting this question to you. Tell us from a first-hand experience, first-hand personal knowledge of Yaya Jammeh.
moo tax nag yow mi gën a jokkoo moom ñu lay laaj yow lan nga xam yow ci sa bopp ci mbir Yaya Jammeh.
He was very temperamental.
nekkoon na koo xam ne ni ku yomba mer la.
A witness testified here.
am na seede bu fi wax fii ne.
I think it was Ibu Jaju.
foog naa Ibu Jaaju la.
I'm just plucking this from memory.
maa ngi xalaat rek.
And he said one of the Egyptian chefs that Yaya Jammeh had
wax na ne kenn ci ñi nga xam ne ñu ngi daan liggéey foofu ci wàññi Yaya Jammeh bi dëkk
described him as follows.
nii la waxoon ne noonu la Yaya mel.
Now happy, now angry.
mu ne léegi ci taxawaay bi mu mer ci taxawaay bi nga gis mu kontaan.
That is why I said, well, maybe the Egyptian did not know the exact English word to use.
moo tax ma ne maybe Egyptian boobu amut baati angale bi nga xam ne moom la waroon a jëfoo.
But it was synonymous to temperamental.
waaye nag nekkoon na loo xam ne ku jégale ku yomba mer.
Added to that,
di ci yokk nag ne.
I would say he was schizophrenic.
He's
schizophrenic. Dafa am febari boppa.
Wow. Dafa am febari xel.
Febari xel, wow.
He was I think he had pathological problems.
I
don't want to be a psychologist. Somebody who would change in the next moment while you're sitting with him. Change decisions or change his mind. You wouldn't know what to expect from him. So if he called you in his office, you sat down, you are taking notes, you're discussing. So he'll be smiling, next minute. And that affected his decision-making process. You would go to him with a file. Instead of dealing with the file, he would derail and... And you will come down with the file not knowing what to do because there are time frames for certain things in the files.
Wouldn't you call his attention to the issue at hand?
You can only do that through the Secretary General.
But Mr. Sambou, here you are, very senior official in government, you sitting with the president to deal with an issue of national interest. Do you have to wait to go out and tell the Secretary General that we did not discuss this, it ought to have been discussed? Why couldn't you tell the president that, sir, this is what brought me here, let's deal with the matter?
Why, Mr. Sambou, you yangi ni ame mahama bukowe. Nyonga ci president bi pour waxtana mom bir mo xamne itel rew mi la bu fekke ne li nga bëgga amé ci mom amé loko ndax jar na ngay xaar be demat ci secrétaire général bi wax ko ne li ak li day la bëggona waxtana mom way mënuma ko amé ci mom lutax yow ba nga jakarlo mom rek nga ne ko sa ñu ne li la bëgga ñu waxtané ngeen waxtané ko
lead council ya jame bour la won daf doon def bopam ni bour
He is the one who call you and you answer to him. You cannot go to him directly and tell him that you want to see him.
If he also dismisses you, you go down, you find yourself in such a situation, you don't know what to do. And the SG might not even have the courage to go back and remind him. He will dismiss the SG just like you.
Secretary General
People have testified here on that issue, in this like manner. So you wait.
We just want to understand, Yaya Jammeh, from your own perspective. You are the one working with him. We want to know what you went through, how you were dealing with him, so that we will better understand the decisions that were taken.
dañ bëgg xam Yaya Jammeh bu baaxa baax jaarale ko ci yow ni nga xam ne noonu nga daan jëflante moom laka nga daan defa moom ak naka la mel ci yow yow ci sa wàllu gis-gisi boppa lañ bëgg xam Yaya Jammeh naka la meloon ci yow.
So that's why we asked this question.
moo tax ñu laaj la ko.
I understand.
Now dégg naa.
Personally, were you terrified of him, of Yaya Jammeh?
yow ci sa boppa yow mii ci sa boppa Yaya Jammeh danga ko ragaloon.
No.
Déedéet.
I'll emphatically say no. You look at Yaya Jammeh depending on the mood he was in. And you chose the right time to tell him what you felt. If you did it at the wrong time, woe betide you.
Woe betide you, but
but on the contrary, if you found him in a very good mood, you might move out of his office with your pockets very full.
That you have to calibrate, you have to judge his mood and decide how to deal with him at that particular moment.
Indeed.
But even at that, fear was always one underlying factor who dealt with him.
I will ask a rhetorical question, if you will allow me, lead counsel. Don't you fear somebody who has a button on his right hand below his desk? Depending on his whims and caprices,
press button or soldari ñu dugga ci
and he would just say, take him away. Those soldiers, excuse me, with all due respect to them, were like robots. Yes, sir, and that's all. You are out of the office. In the car next time, downstairs, and off you go. They have only one direction. Mile 2 prisons.
Mile 2 prisons. Otherwise known as?
The hotel, the 5-star hotel.
5-star hotel.
You understand that 5-star hotel to mean?
yow nekk nga ci liggéey bi jiite nga NIA di ka nga place bu fort ci wàlli kaaraange réew mi am nga maxama yu bari yoo xam ne yore nga ko fi yow 5-star hotel boobu ñu jël ko tuddee ko kaso bi naka nga ko gisee.
Council, I have traveled the world.
Council, tukki naa ci àdduna bi.
I have been to 5-star, 1-star hotel.
Mile 2 prison nag jegewut sax 1-star hotel.
So, isn't it rhetorical, if I may, or is it a sarcastic description?
Sarcastic.
Of what a 5-star hotel is, reversing the luxury in a 5-star hotel to the horrors that you would find in Mile 2 prison.
ndax nekkul mbiri coxor ci ak wax ju ñaaw joo xam ne di nga jël rek du tolloo 5-star hotel ak ni moo mel ak bànneex beeg taranga bi nekk ci 5-star hotel nga jël ko di ko méngale ak kaso boo xam ne ay mbugal ak ay toroxtaande rek moo fa am.
Exactly so.
loolu la.
If I may.
How would you feel, or how did you feel then, as permanent secretary, having to go to Yaya Jammeh's office to discuss issues with him? Could you give us an understanding of how it felt?
naka nga daan yëg yow nga nekk permanent secretary wara dem toog office Yaya Jammeh pour waxtaan ak moom ay mbir nag loo daan yëg jamono jooju.
As you are on your way going to his office.
mel ni boo jógee ne yaa nga dem jublu ji nag office am loo dee yëg.
In my position as permanent secretary, I'm a technical advisor. My job was to give him objective technical advice on issues raised. I go straight to him.
You've described your job. My question is, how do you feel, or how did you feel then when you had to go to Yaya Jammeh's office now and again? What was that feeling when you are up, carrying your file, going to Yaya Jammeh's office to discuss things with him?
Waaw loolu nga wax noonu mooy sa mbiri liggéey ni moo demee man li ma la laaj mooy yow bu waxtu jotee nag ba nga xam ne gàddu nga sa file war a yëg.
I personally didn't feel anything. I had a clean conscience. And with Yaya Jammeh, you look at him right in the eyes. Look at him right in the eyes and tell him what you feel. Make sure that what you tell him is the fact, that is the technical, objective answer.
But wasn't it knowing what the consequences of your meeting would mean for you, for your own safety and for your own security?
Wa ndax du dee nekk nag ne yow jamono boo jógee rek ne yaa ngaa dem ca Yaya Jammeh du nekk jamono joo xam ne yaa ngay xalaat ne man day xawma ci ban anam laa koo fekkee ak suñu waxtaan fan lay mujjee.
ak lang fay jëlee lu moo mel ci yow ndax dina doon lu baax pour yow ndax mun nga see mujjee sax dem kaso ga.
And you enter with your file. Whatever you receive, that's yours.
But was it that bad that whenever you had to go in there, you think in terms of such terrible consequences, like Lofa Gobe Garko? Like anything can happen.
ndax loolu nekkul mbir mu doy waar saa yoo jógee rek pour dem jàkkaarloo ak moom yaa ngi xalaat lan nga faa jëlee.
I think he enjoyed putting people on pressure and on their toes.
yaakaar naa ne daal daf dee bànneexu bu fekkee ne nag mu ngi.
But wasn't that in fact the situation? Wasn't that the reason why we had a dictatorship?
Of course, yes.
ndax loolu nekkul ne moo taxoon ba ñu am koo xam ne mu ngi daan doxalee nguuri jaayam doole ci kaw nit ñi.
It was lead counsel.
loolu la woon lead counsel.
And wasn't it in fact the case that the public service generally from top to bottom were generally, not all, but generally terrified at Yaya Jammeh?
ndax loolu sax warta tax ba.
loolu nag moo nekk ne mooy jikkoy dictator.
Was that the characteristic of Yaya Jammeh?
ndax loolu mooy woon jikko Yaya Jammeh.
I think so.
loolu laa yaakaar de.
You told us about his minutes, the minutes that he would write. Were these minutes respectful? Were they technically sound, or were they just the rantings of a person who had no respect or regard for the people he was dealing with?
léegi tegginu la wala lu jaadu la wala lu méngoo ak li nga xam ne moom la war a binda ak cëral boo xam ne cëral na ko li moo binda.
Not the least, lead counsel.
Do you want to give us examples? I see you taking out a file.
I would like to make some references if I find the document. I am.
Please go ahead.
Please allow me.
Ma'am.
Perhaps, Mr. Chair, it would just be convenient to take the break now, all right, and give Mr. Sambou the time during the lunch break to sift through his material, and then we come back at the time you may designate. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good suggestion. Witness, we will come back at 3 o'clock. We'll have a lunch break now. Okay, we come back at 3 o'clock. Meeting is adjourned.